Evening, guys. Sure, you had a great day. Here is my take on Euro USD. Here's my take on Euro USD. Looking at the weekly time frame, everything looks bearish. The trend is still bearish on weekly time frame. But like I always tell you guys, the trend can change anytime. Okay, so the question you should ask yourself is, what will be the best price to enter a buy trade? What will be the best price to enter a buy trade? The trend still looks bearish because this week candle closed bearish. That tells you that you have more sellers in the market. So if trend decides to change from bearish to bullish, what you should ask yourself is, what is the best price to buy Euro USD? So this is what I would do in this case. First thing I would do is to get the pivot point of the weekly candle, and I've shared that with you guys, how to get the pivot point of the weekly candle. Add up the high low close price of that candle, divide it by 3, you get the pivot value. Okay, get the pivot value. If a candle closes above the pivot value, that's an indication that you have more buyers in the market, so you can execute a buy trade if a candle closes above the pivot. And like I told you guys, when you're using a bearish candlestick for your pivot calculation, you look for opportunity to what? Buy. You look for a setup to buy. And if you're using a bullish candlestick for your pivot calculation, you look for a setup to sell. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to get the pivot of this weekly candle. So I've gotten the pivot of the weekly candle, and the pivot value is 1.0449. 1.0449. So if a candle closes above that level, I would consider buying. Now, after getting the pivot value for the weekly candle, I would go down to daily time frame to get the pivots on a daily time frame. Now, I would be using this candle for my pivot calculation on the daily time frame, and the reason is that the weekly pivot lies on the body of that daily pivot, sorry, daily candle. You can see the weekly pivot is lying on the body of the daily candle, so that's the candle I would be using for my pivot point calculation. So I'm gonna get the pivot by adding the high low close price of this candle. I don't want this to be too long, that's why I have to pause it, do the calculation, and apply my horizontal line. Okay, so I've gotten the daily pivot. I've gotten, sorry, so I've gotten, sorry for that, I've gotten the daily pivot. So the green line indicates the daily pivot. So the daily pivot is at 1.0420. So I'll wait for a candle to close above these two. So this is like my supply zone. Okay, this is my supply zone. So if the market or a candle closes above this zone, I would what? I would buy. I would buy. Now the last thing I would do is this. Since I've gotten the weekly, daily pivot, I would also get my 4-hour pivot. I would also get my 4-hour pivot, and I would be using this candle for my pivot calculation, this 4-hour candle. And the reason for that is that this my daily pivot is lying on the body of this bearish candle. Remember, I've been using a bearish candlestick for my pivot point. So on every other time frame, it has to be a bearish candlestick. Okay, the candle I use on other time frame for the pivot calculation has to be what? A bearish candle. So I would be using this candle for my pivot calculation. So I'm adding up the high low close price of that candle, then divided by 3. Whatever value I get would be my pivot. So let's go down to, let me get my calculator. I have to pause. So I've gotten the 4-hour pivot. and the value is 1.0416. Okay, 1.0416. So I wouldn't wait for the market to close above the weekly pivot. Okay, all I need to wait for is a candle closing above this the 4 hour and daily pivot. If a 4 hour candle or 1 hour candle closes above the 4 hour and daily pivot, I would enter a buy. Okay, I would enter what? A buy. Okay, and if you go down to 1 hour, you would see that the 4 hour and the daily time frame is at a resistance level on 1 hour time frame. You can see, and you can see the market has been in a range. Price has been in a range from this point to this point. It has been in a range. So if a candle closes above this pivot levels, which is a resistance level on 1 hour time frame. So for me, this is my supply zone. Okay, this is a supply zone. If demand increases and closes or exceeds this previous supply prices of zone, then I expect price to keep going up. You can see. So what I just shared with you guys is how to use pivot points and resistance and support. You can see. I told you guys that pivot is similar to resistance and support level. So you can see without even looking at the 1 hour time frame to identify this level as resistance level. You can see that the 4 hour pivot and the 1 hour and the daily pivot is at that level. That tells you that this level is a critical level. Okay, a lot of traders are waiting for the breakout from this level, and if market breaks out from that level, most traders would execute a buy trade. So that's my take on Euro USD. We wait for the market to open on Sunday, and by Monday we would know which way. Okay, we will know if our analysis is right. Okay, thanks for watching. If you have any question to be attended to in our next class, do have a wonderful night.